everyone, and welcome to Speed Week. I'm Bob Jenkins. My thanks to Dave Calabro for filling in for me for the last 3 weeks. It is good to be back. We begin tonight with the NASCAR Winston Cup Series and a look back at the Goody's Headache Powder 500 at Martinsville, Virginia. The field was led to the green flag by pole sitter Kenny Wallace, his first pole in 97 career starts. But it was Joe Nemechek and Jeff Gordon who quickly got around Wallace to take the top 2 spots. Jeff dominated the event, leading 431 laps. His only scare came when he and Jimmy Spencer made contact in turn 4.
Right behind him. The leader goes around. He goes. And the second place car goes by, I don't think there's much damage.
Well, it turned out to be a spin and win for Jeff, his 4th victory of 97. Jeff has now won 8 of the last 17 regular season Winston Cup races, a winning percentage of .471. Not since Rusty Wallace won 7 of 16 races between 93 and 94 has a driver been on such a hot streak of victories. And the news gets even better for Gordon as this week the NASCAR Winston Cup Series heads to the Talladega Superspeedway. Jeff has won 2 of the 5 Superspeedway races so far this season, Daytona and Rockingham. And with more on Gordon and a preview of Sunday's Winston 500, here's Ray Dunlap.
Well, thanks, Bob. To pick up the money in the Winston Million, you have to win 3 of the 4 crown jewel races, and Jeff Gordon won the very first of those at the Daytona 500. If he were able to go to victory lane this weekend here at Talladega, he would pick up a $100,000 bonus, but his sights are set on the big bucks.
You know, this is going to be an important race for us this weekend. Right now, we're just looking at trying to win Talladega, not necessarily trying to win the Winston Million. I think, you know, we need to put that in the back of our minds and go out there and just do our job, keep the consistency, think about the championship. But if we get, you know, to that stage, I would love to win the Winston Million, and it's exciting to have that in our thoughts to be going for it.
It has been 35 races since Dale Earnhardt went to victory lane, all the way back to March of 1996 at the Purolator 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And last July, here at Talladega, Earnhardt experienced what may have been the worst crash of his career, which sent his season on a downward spiral. Are things turning around for the Intimidator? You bet.
The team's really pumped up. We've got a good race car here. It's the same car I ran at Daytona. We rebuilt her and running good. You know, we'll see if we can hold off for the pole, but the car's really running good. I'm looking forward to the race, and it's just a matter of time that we can win.
Well, this season, Dale has been un-Earnhardt-like, not yet posting a top 5 finish in 1997, but Talladega is one of his favorite tracks. He has 7 career victories here, which leads all drivers in the field. In other news, Dr. J, Julius Erving, and former NFL running back Joe Washington plan on putting together a NASCAR Winston Cup team. If it comes together, this would be the only minority-owned team in NASCAR Winston Cup racing.
He's going to bring some awareness to the sport, and you know, he's quite a famous man in his own right. He and Joe Washington both, and so we're looking forward to it.
It was announced on Friday afternoon here at Talladega that the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company would become the official tire for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, the Busch Grand National Division, and the Craftsman Truck Series for the next 3 years.
This is going to be a better situation for all the competitors down the road, and it makes us feel better knowing that these guys, their number one concern is safety anyway, and that's what they can work on, safety, and not necessarily the speed, you know, just so everybody's tires are the same.
Well, the front row for this weekend's Winston 500 was certainly the surprise here in qualifying Friday afternoon at Talladega. Now let's take a look at the rest of the field. John Andretti and Hillen on the front row with Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, and Mike Skinner rounding out the top 5.
Well, I think I'm surprised that we ran that quick. I think when Bill Elliott went out there and didn't run as quick as we thought he would run, the pressure came back to us to try and go out there and get it. And still had the 28 and the 88 behind us, so, you know, nothing's guaranteed. But when we ran I believe a 56 and then a 45, I mean, that's pretty stout laps. And what can you say about the RCA team? I mean, they did it all. I mean, I just got there and held it on the floorboard.
In 10th position, Bill Elliott, who was a favorite to win the pole. Looking back through the top 25, we see that Greg Sachs had a good qualifying run in 13th. Johnny Benson will start 17th. Jeff Bodine back in 19th, right beside Jimmy Spencer, who qualified 20th.
All right, thank you, Ray. The NASCAR Busch Series also races at Talladega tomorrow. Joe Nemechek won the pole yesterday. Tim Steele, Bill Parsons, Todd Bodine, and Mike McLaughlin were the top 5 qualifiers. You can see the Birmingham Auto Dealers Easy Care 500K live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Saturday afternoon. When we return, we'll preview kart at Nazareth, NHRA in Virginia, and we'll show you highlights of all the short track racing. So, the SCCA Trans Am Series was at Phoenix International Raceway last Saturday for round 2 of their series. Tom Kendall, the winner at St. Petersburg in February, sat on the pole and jumped to an early lead. The only notable incident of the day occurred when teammates Greg Pickett and Bill Saunders got together. However, they were both able to continue in the race. With Kendall dominating the field throughout, the best race was for second as Dorsey Schrader and Brian Semo battled to the finish. Kendall led all 67 laps of the event. En route to the victory, Semo narrowly held off Schrader for second place. So what about Kendall's new hair color? He promised an explanation only after he won 2 consecutive Trans Am races, and now he has.
I said I would tell everyone why I did it. They're going to be a little disappointed because I couldn't think of a good enough reason not to do it, and that's the honest to God truth. I liked everyone's theories on witness relocation program, trying out for the World Championship Wrestling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is, I just couldn't think of a good reason not to.
Tom will give you one more race to tell us the real reason. Well, the month of May is quickly approaching, and the entry list for the 81st running of the Indianapolis 500 has been released. There are 64 entries and 31 different drivers for the 33-car field. However, there have been some new driver-owner combinations come together since the entry list was published. Veteran Gary Bettenhausen thought he had a ride, but Thursday was replaced by Mark Dismore, who finished 19th in last year's race. Former driver Stefan Johansson is among those who has entered a car. Scott Harrington will be his driver. PDM Racing has put together a sponsorship deal for driver John Paul Jr. Indianapolis-based Klipsch Inc. will be the major sponsor of the team, which, according to team co-owner Paul Diatlovich, will allow them to concentrate more on the track than off.
The fact is now we can focus on preparing the race car and competing in the race rather than worrying about, coming up with the last couple of $1,000s to make sure that we can pay the bills at the end of the month.
Well, we're so excited at this opportunity. Fred Klipsch and Judy have brought us to this table. We honestly have a chance to win this race.
The Kart PPG World Series is in action this weekend at the Nazareth Speedway in Pennsylvania. Here's Dave Calabro with a preview of the Bosch Sparkplug Grand Prix.
Bob, Friday's practice session on the 1-mile oval was rain-shortened, but that didn't bother track record holder Paul Tracy. Just 1 week after being fined $25,000 for rough driving, Tracy appears to be the man to beat with the day's fastest lap.
I'm pleased, but there's more work to be done. We're only 1 day through the weekend, so. Mercedes is, top 3. We got good power, and it's driving well off the turn, so that's a good change.
Tracy's teammate, Al Unser Jr., also looks to be competitive this weekend. His speed of 184.776 miles an hour is third best on the day. He attributes Team Penske's success to preseason testing and the Goodyear tires.
Yeah, I'm real happy with the Marlboro car. It's going well. Paul came and tested with Goodyear, and I really feel that Goodyear's got a beautiful tire here, and everything's going well so far.
It also appears that Alex Zanardi's record string of 11 consecutive front-row starts may be in jeopardy. Zanardi was only 9th quick Friday, but he's confident about his qualifying chances on Saturday.
No, it's okay. We've been running full tank. We knew we were going to be low on the grid. Maybe not that much, but I believe that by the time that we all go out with new tires and low fuel and qualify, we'll have the first answer.
Zanardi's teammate Jimmy Vasser is continuing his struggle to regain last year's championship for him. His speed Friday was a disappointing 17th fastest. Quick time of the day belongs to Paul Tracy. Patrick Carpentier is second. Al Unser Jr. third. Richie Hearn and Scott Pruitt round out the top 5. And a surprise 6 through 10. Look at Walter Salas running up there at 181 miles an hour. Mauricio Gugelmin, Alex Zanardi, and also Gilles de Ferran in the top 10.
All right, thank you, Dave. You can catch the whole qualifying story on ESPN2 Sunday morning at 1 a.m. Then on Sunday, turn to ABC for full race coverage at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Could Jacques Villeneuve be returning to North America? The 1995 Indy 500 winner is not happy with Formula One's decision to switch to groove tires, shorter chassis lengths, and other proposed changes in Formula One. Jacques was quoted as saying in the French newspaper La Parisienne, "I believe that the introduction of these regulations will have a major effect on my future in Formula One. If driving becomes boring, I'll quit." Villeneuve, the Formula One points leader, will be racing this weekend at the Grand Prix of San Marino, which will be aired live on ESPN2 Sunday morning at 7:45 a.m. Eastern Time. The NHRA is at the Virginia Motorsports Park for the Pennzoil Nationals this weekend. Funny car driver Al Hoffman is hoping to return to this event after a fiery incident in early March at Gainesville. With an update on Hoffman and a preview, let's check in with Dave McClellan.
Thanks, Bob. That certainly is the big story in funny car competition here at Virginia Motorsports Park. The return of Al Hoffman. First off, how you feeling?
Great. Can't wait to get back in the car. It seems like I've been out of it a long time.
Well, you're a little behind in the points chase now. Do you think you can catch them?
Yeah, I was just looking at the points, and they should have taken advantage of me while they could have. It's not that bad. It looks like if I can go to a couple of finals here, I can go right back into second place.
What's the status of the injuries after the crash in Gainesville?
Well, everything's healing good. It's just a little sore right now, but I drove the car a little bit last night, and I feel comfortable in it.
There's a story developing in Top Fuel as well. Connie Coletta has parked himself. The car will continue to run. Son Scott is going to drive Connie's car with Ed McCulloch as the crew chief. Connie taking a bit of a leave of absence to devote more time to business. There's no plans to return to a two-car team, at least for the next few races. Two drivers fared very well just a couple of weeks ago down in Atlanta. Let's turn first to Randy Anderson, first-time ever winner in a Nitro Funny Car in only your fifth race.
Yeah, we were pretty fortunate down there, but we're all excited. It was a great morale booster for all the crew, the family, and the sponsors.
How about this race here at the Virginia Nationals? Now, you're the guy that everybody's going to be taking shots at.
Well, I don't know about that. You know, be honest with you, I know we got a long ways to go. The win, no way, means that we've reached the top, nor even close to the top. We've got a lot to learn driving. We're a young team over there, a lot in the tune-up, but you know, it's nice to get a win, and we're looking just to, you know, continue success.
Probably doubly sweet beating John Force.
Absolutely. You know, beating John Force is, you know, I grew up watching him. I'm a big fan of his. There's no secret there, and to beat him has made it quite special.
Another man had the first win of the season. Actually, it was his second, because the week before he picked up $100,000 at the richest drag race in the world, the Winston Invitational. But Kenny Bernstein, that first win of the year puts you really in strong contention for that Winston title again.
Well, it certainly didn't hurt, Mac, by any means. We needed to move up a little bit and not let those other two guys, Celsi and Amato, get so far ahead on us, and we tightened it up some, but it's a long road. You know, everybody gets excited this time of year. Then you look at the calendar and you say, oh my God, we got 17 more to go. So it's a long time to come.
Kenny, best of luck to you.
Thank you, Mac. We appreciate it.
Well, there's two drivers that are looking forward to eliminations here. Now let's take a look at what happened in the Friday night qualifying session. One of drag racing's best-known barriers fell in qualifying today in Pro Stock Eliminator. Warren Johnson drove his GM Performance Parts Pontiac to the first-ever official 200-mile-an-hour speed, 200.13, at a track record and national record time of 6:89 to hold the top spot in Pro Stock qualifying. He picked up a $25,000 bonus from Speed Pro Piston Rings to be the first over 200. In funny car qualifying, John Force continues to be the dominant racer in the category. His 4.91 second elapsed time at over 298 miles an hour established him as the #1 qualifier after 2 sessions. It was the last run down the racetrack, and Corey McLenathan used the nighttime to his advantage. He went 465 at a speed of over 313 miles an hour to edge Bob Vandergriff, who did not run the night session. Concerned that he may not be able to get traction, McLenathan proved him wrong. You can watch all the action from the Pennzoil Nationals Sunday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. And we'll present you a recap of the entire day's action. We'll be back with more of SpeedWeek.
Welcome back to Speed Week. There was open wheel racing all over the country last weekend, and we checked the highlights in our short tracking segment. We start off at Knoxville Raceway in Iowa, which played host to the 410 sprint cars last Saturday night. Doug Wolfgang's return to Knoxville ended up like this after contact with Randy Anderson in a heat race. Number 48, Dennis Moore Jr. led the field at the green in the 20-lap feature. Moore stayed in front until lap 14 when Skip Jackson took the lead using the inside line. After a brief caution, Moore used the restart to get back in front of Jackson for the lead, and he stayed there for the final laps to record his second career win at Knoxville. The USAC Western States Midgets were in Hanford, California for the 8th event of the season. Bryant Toohey on the pole led the field to green, but outside row 1 starter Rick Hendricks took the first position out of turn 2. 5 laps later, Billy Boat slid under Toohey in the first turn, and the two battled side by side until Boat was able to pull ahead as they entered turn 3. It was smooth sailing for Boat until the 13th circuit when his hood flew up while he was fighting lap traffic. Despite the difficulties, Boat was able to continue running. A few laps later, Ron Hazelton went for a wild ride as he tumbled end over end in turn 3. He was okay, but the red flag came out, and that gave Boat's crew a chance to tape the hood back on the car before the restart. Billy held on to the top spot the remainder of the race, went on to record his first Western States victory this year. The USAC sprint cars were in Phoenix, Arizona last Sunday. Pole sitter Chet Phillip fell to third as Brad Armstrong and Andy Mishner both passed him. By lap number 5, Pat Abold had moved into second place before losing control between turns 3 and 4. Everyone else missed his car. The ensuing restart saw Phillip pick up one of the 2 spots he lost earlier. And just 4 laps later, Phillip passed Armstrong for the lead and never looked back. He built a big lead over eventual second-place finisher Robbie Flock on the way to victory in the 25-lap race. The World of Outlaws had a doubleheader last weekend. The action started with Andy Hillenberg, who had this flip over during the start of the feature at the West Plains Raceway in Missouri. The winner was Kelly Kinzer, subbing for his cousin Mark, who was trying to qualify for the truck race in Phoenix. It was Kelly's first feature win ever in the World of Outlaws. The next night at the Missouri International Race Park during heat race action, Kelly Kinzer made contact with Johnny Schatz, and then he hit Dean Adams, who went for a tumble. During the feature, Greg Hoddett made contact with Jim Farmer and flipped upside down. He was uninjured. Sammy Swindell took the checkered flag for his 6th victory this year. The SCRA traditional sprint cars ran at the Manzanita Raceway in Arizona last Saturday. Qualifying action saw Tony Jones lose control and flip into the turn 1 wall. The night's only other major mishap occurred in the 4th heat race as Adam Mitchell got high and did an endo in turn 3. Number 6, Mike Kirby, led the field of the green flag in the feature. He stayed in front until lap 2 when Ron Schumann rode the low line to the top spot. Schumann stayed in front until lap 7 when Kirby went underneath to regain the lead. Kirby survived a late race charge from second-place finisher Corey Kruzman to take the checkered flags. The Frigidaire All-Star Sprints were in Attica, Ohio last weekend. In heat race action Friday night, Scott Miller and Daniel Coggeshall got together and Miller went over the edge. Terry McCarl and Todd Kane kept it on the track, but when they made contact, Kane went flipping. Texan Gary Wright brought home the victory, his 6th this year. In Saturday time trials, Bobby Anderson took a wild ride when he lost control and flipped out of the ballpark. Later that evening, John Hawkes in a heat race. Marty Ling in the C-Main. And Gary Wright in the feature, all out of bounds in the same spot. Also in the main event, 18-year-old Jason Dukes popped a wheelie on the backstretch, managed to keep it right side up, but was finished for the evening. Give the win, his first in All-Star competition, to Butch Schroeder. On Wednesday, the Western States Midgets headed to Bakersfield for ESPN2's Thunder. Pole sitter was Ricky Shelton. He was the first leader in the 30-lap main event. He managed to stay in front of Jimmy Sills and the rest of the field early on. Meanwhile, Billy Boat, Robbie Flock, and Rick Hendricks waged a spirited battle for 3rd position. Just after the halfway point, Scott Hansen brought out the caution with a flat tire. Several other cars had similar problems before the evening was over. But with 5 laps remaining, Sills pushed his way past Shelton and into the lead. Boat made a late race attempt at the top spot, but came up short as his tire went down on the final turn. And Sills beat Flock to the checkered flag and recorded the victory. Dave Despain talked with Sills after the race.
All right, thanks, Bob. This is really not the reason they do it. The trophy's nice, the money's better. You want a bunch of that tonight. Congratulations, Jimmy Sills. Talk to me about the strategy, because it really took a good bit of that to win this race.
Well, we had a hard tire on, which we knew it was going to take, and it took a few laps for it to get going. And once the tire got heated up, then I could move. The yellow flag actually hurt us because I was wanting traffic to help me get past Ricky, and then with the yellow, my tire cooled down again, so it took it about another 5 laps to get going. About the time it started feeling good, I rolled up around the outside of him, and then Flock poked his nose down underneath me. Then I had to just kind of forget about saving the tire and just run the thing hard, hope I had enough tire to make it, and it did.
All right, congratulations. It was great work. That's Jimmy Sills. Jenkins, I know you're going to Talladega, so you're going to miss all the fun. I'm going to be right here Saturday night. We're going to do it all over again, and we'll air that show next Wednesday night, midnight Eastern time. We'll see if Sills here can make it 2 in a row. Back to you, Bob.
All right, thank you, Dave. Now let's take a look at the CarQuest racing calendar. For all your auto parts needs, you'll find it at CarQuest. Weekend's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race was at Phoenix International Raceway, and pole sitter Jack Sprague took the lead early, staying ahead of number 2, Mike Bliss. Lap 32, Jerry Glanville lost control of his truck, causing this multi-truck crash. The race was then red flagged for a lengthy cleanup. Just after the restart, Bliss bumped his way past Sprague for the lead. But later, Sprague used the inside line to retake the top spot from Bliss, and Jack stayed in front for good this time as he led the final 62 laps to take his first victory of the year. The NASCAR Busch Series was also in action last weekend at the 1/2 mile Nashville Motor Speedway side of the Bell South Opryland 320. Pole sitter Mike McLaughlin led the field to the green, but was beaten to turn 1 by Kevin LePage, who managed to stay in front until lap 41, when number 8 Jeff Green squeezed by. 32 laps later, LePage retook the lead with this move past Green. After a series of crashes and pit stops, LePage faded into the field, and rookie Steve Park found himself out in front. Park withstood late challenges from Tim Fedowa and Jeff Purvis to lead the final 70 laps and record his first career Busch Series win. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show, but we'll be back Friday night at 12:30 a.m. Eastern. That's 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. And we leave you this week with highlights from the Prim 300 score off-road race won by Kurt LeDuc. So long, everyone.